This episode of Nuff Said is brought to you by Tweaked Audio. To get awesome headphones, go to tweakedaudio.com and use the coupon code Southgate to get 30% off, free shipping, and a lifetime warranty. Or you can get there through the link on our website, southgatemediagroup.com.
Are you heartfully sorry for all of your sins? It does not matter, dear friend, for now you face your just punishments.
Hello, heroes. I'm your host, Charlie the Professor Esser, and with me, as always, is my slender, wealthy friend.
It's Mozz.
Hey, Mozz, so happy to see you.
Indeed. Ohio was fun.
It had such a great time. We got to do that again very soon.
Indeed.
Tonight's episode, Season 2, Episode 3, Trouble the Water. As Pilgrim's past comes into focus, Frank and Rachel find themselves in police custody, where they're anything but safe. Our director tonight is Jeremy Webb. Our writers, of course, are Jerry Conway and John Romita Sr., who get our Marvel credits. Good old John Romita Sr. Steve Lightfoot created this series. Ross Andrew gets a Marvel Comics credit as well. I don't know what he did, but he's there. So, way to go, Ross Andrew, for contributing to the creation of either the Punisher or another character we're meeting here. Possibly Pilgrim. Steve Lightfoot gets our created by Ken Christensen, is our written by Angela LaManna, is our executive story editor, and you can't be an executive story editor without a regular story editor, which again is Ken Christensen doing double duty. Hardest working man in show business. There we go. Okay. So tonight's episode, we open up on Mr. Pilgrim chopping wood. And we do a nice little cut between him at church and the chopping of wood and this sort of, shall we say, opiate for the masses, mass for our local power brokers at the church. Do we say that's a fair assessment of what we're looking at here?
Certainly.
Yeah, we definitely have this church being salvation and rock of this community, but that those who have founded this church and funded this church have demanded a certain amount of reciprocity from its adherents, one of whom is Mr. Pilgrim, who we see in a very subtle way, or perhaps not so subtle, because it is a television program they want us to see this point, has clearly a past, because we do see him with his shirt off, and he has a number of tattoos meant to imply a past of something. We see that one of these items is a Maltese cross, which honestly to me makes me wonder if he's Hydra. Now I don't know if they're going into Hydra here in The Punisher, but that Maltese cross, which is a symbol, it's adopted by biker gangs, but also Nazis. I mean, other people use the Maltese cross as well. It actually is a symbol among the Knights Templar, but in our common parlance, it does make you wonder who this guy is. It's not something you would expect to necessarily see from just a normal special forces guy, I'm guessing, because it does have the implication of Nazism, unless of course you are a special forces guy who's also a Nazi, which there are those guys too. So
certainly, certainly,
we don't want to excuse it, but we got to say, you know what, that Maltese cross has a certain implication in our modern society. And since I'm sure this guy doesn't have the scar of a Maltese cross tattoo over his heart, I got to assume that was put there by the makeup artist to tell a story. And so what that story is, we don't necessarily get, except that everyone knows Mr. Pilgrim is, in fact, a man who gets things done.
Although I will say, the way the politician or whoever it is handles him outside the church meeting, it seems like he's dangling a carrot in front of his face. And I also think that he doesn't necessarily think that carrot is actually there. So he's just using the man. And so to a certain degree, I feel like Pilgrim is also caught in between a rock and a hard place, and he's doing his best to make it work. Bad as a person as he might be.
And I actually think you're that's I think one of the central questions of a guy like Pilgrim. We had discussed this earlier about his deep and abiding faith and how that leads him to self-delusion.
Right. Right.
And I wonder if people are exploiting that. And I can imagine the scenario where this is a guy. So let's go with the Hydra example. After Captain America, Winter Soldier, Hydra falls. And as we saw in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Hydra...
Or at least splinters.
Yeah, it splinters, but as a result of that, and in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., we see that a lot of Hydra folks are left flapping in the breeze.
Right.
So you have this guy who has done a lot of bad, finds himself flapping in the breeze, not sure where to go next, winds up in this community, finds a lovely wife, raises 2 beautiful kids, thinks his life has been made whole for his repentance, and then gets called upon after his wife gets sick. And now he is told he must follow this guide to serve his masters, but is he perhaps kind of being pulled into something that isn't necessarily what he wants? He would rather just turn his back on his past and say that he is done with his past, but that his past, because people can exploit it, cannot be left to die. That he is being asked to do something he doesn't want to. That's an interesting question.
Yeah, he shouldn't have been so valuable.
Well, I think that there's an additional item in this, which is the idea that much like we see with the Punisher at the start of this, when Rachel, quote in quotes, because that is a quote's name, when Rachel says, you didn't waste any time getting in the mix of it. You were waiting for it. And I wonder if maybe that was what it was with Pilgrim, that he sits there much like Frank and says, oh, I don't want this. I really wish, I could just have this nice quiet life with a wife and kids. But in truth, he is so desperate to get back to the battle, so desperate to go back to being the warrior.
Right. And it's funny. It's like, well, I guess that's in the next episode. Never mind. Russo mentioned something to that effect too.
And we'll get to Russo is in this a little bit. Well, not so much Russo, but we do get to the Russo fallout, which is one of the things I actually like in this discussion of Russo, which is his psychiatrist basically calling Madani out for calling her a hack.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, you really think I'm so bad at my job
that I can't tell the difference?
Exactly. And really it's Madani sitting here clearly a little bit unhinged herself.
Right.
I think that's really maybe the deeper story of this is Madani's not really well after getting shot in the head, to be granted, but not as well as she would like the world to think. And I think that, good old what's his name? Good old Billy Russo maybe is a little more honest in his damage, in the way, and especially in what we see of him in the next 2 episodes. A little more honest in his damage than Madani is being honest about her damage, or the way that maybe Frank and Pilgrim are honest about their damage. That basically, among all the damaged people, maybe Billy Russo is the most together one of the group, because he's the one who says, yeah, I know I'm damaged.
Right. No, and it's because his ego has been, erased. He doesn't have the memory of that ego being built, and it's just I guess a set of reactions to situations in his life that he's forgotten. And so his ego can't fight back anymore, and he's left with an honest view of himself.
Yeah, well, one of the most fascinating aspects of Billy Russo's character is that, as he's discussed these things, he clearly sees Frank and the skull that haunts his dreams as two separate entities.
Right, Banner and Hulk
Yeah, well,
almost.
but Frank is his friend, Frank is his buddy, Frank is his brother, and then there's this skull, and this skull that he can't quite wrap his mind around, this skull that is overwhelming in his fear and his terror. But that couldn't be good old Frank. Frank's his friend, Frank's his brother. So it is an interesting dichotomy that we have there with Billy and his relationship.
And a moment that they're teasing us with, like, oh, wait till he finds out. Oh, I cannot wait. That's going to be intense.
Yeah, this is. I mean, honestly, this is a crazy series, and honestly, I love every minute of it. It is. Especially, and this is actually such a great shoot 'em up episode because this is your Alamo episode where
Right.
a small group of people are locked up in a fortress, but clearly surrounded by the villains or by those who want to take that fortress from them, and they're outmanned and outgunned. And how do you hold it off? Now, unlike the actual Alamo, we get a Deus Ex Machina at the end that saves the day. Although, honestly, maybe the Deus Ex Machina at the start is Frank Castle himself, and really Madani is not quite the advantage that we hope she is. Although it's arguable that Pilgrim maybe had the drop on Frank at the
Right, but I mean, as an idea, Frank Castle, the Punisher, like his reach extends far beyond his physical reach. You know what I mean? Like the idea of the Punisher exists out there in the world with so much goodwill or so much value that something had to come and sort the situation out.
Although arguably, as we see, the reason Madani shows up after she basically hung up on Frank last episode is because
because he's valuable.
Well, no, is because Russo broke out.
Right, and who's going to kill him but Frank? And there's his value. So all of a sudden, she needs him, and that's the reach of the Punisher. Reaching out in a metaphysical way and drawing energy and people and situations and dynamics to him.
Yeah, all I'm saying.
That's also the power of the Punisher.
Yeah, all I'm saying is that if Russo had broken out on Thursday instead of Tuesday, this would be a very different story,
Although, well, yeah, he did get the drop on him, but that whole scene with Frank just going out like Batman, but again, Batman that kills and just taking out with surgical precision the guys out there was beautiful.
Well, and that is, if there's nothing else, that it is a fascinating idea about the mythos of the special forces of the Rambo character, because of course Rambo is Rambo, and Rambo is this guy. But the fact of the matter is, all these people he's taken out, the lady he shoots at the end of last episode, shoots her in the leg so we can interrogate her. She's also a Rambo. You know that a lot of these guys are also everybody. Generally speaking, everybody that Frank is killing is also special forces.
Right, but he's special.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like he's obviously better than all of them. Yeah, so it's like
extra special.
Right, and it's interesting. Like the police, and like in Rambo, he was the one assaulting the police, or but now he's on their side, and they're being assaulted by a bunch more. It's kind of cool.
Well, to be fair, in this storyline, there is not that the sheriff is completely justified in arresting Frank Castle in this story,
right?
And also still is suspect of who he should believe, because everything you see is like, I'm not sure I believe this just yet.
Yeah. But to his credit, I believed him when he says to him, "Hey, let me out of these cuffs. I'll fight these guys off, and then I'll put myself back in these cuffs." I believed him.
Oh yeah, well, for what it's worth, Frank Castle's whole story and existence, sits on the idea that he is bound by this rule of law and this. I mean, he's not bound by the rule of law, but he does respect society. He respects society. He respects cops. He respects people who put their life, who aren't superheroes, to put a short answer to it. He respects the people that put themselves in the situation, who fight in the situation, and he's willing to accept their limitations in this and to trust them in their limitations in this. He does what no one else can do, and he knows that, but he also respects what those who are bound by law do and why they have to be bound by law. At least in modern interpretations of the Punisher.
No, that makes sense.
I think earlier interpretations of the Punisher, he was much, much less forgiving of law enforcement.
Because you got to have some sort of ideal to hang on to have the reason that you fight, something to protect. And if it's not that, then what is he protecting? Is it just vengeance? So I think it prevents him also from admitting to himself that maybe it is all about the vengeance.
Yeah.
To have a line that he doesn't cross.
Well, exactly. And at this point, it's not even about the vengeance. It really is just about. I'm protecting this lady, and I'm guessing that whoever is trying to kill, essentially, the people using Punisher tactics probably aren't good guys, which is this interesting take on the whole thing. It's not like, I'm protecting, it's not like I'm protecting Ava Braun here against an army of Punishers that are seeking to destroy her. Although arguably that is something that could very honestly exist in this universe. What? I've been protecting cloned Hitler the whole time? Oh man, that's a comic book to review. It is a thing that he is able to accept that people who use his tactics probably aren't good guys, even though he himself is. And he's generally speaking right, which is why a lot of people don't accept what he does. But at the same time, he does, and this to go into comic books, he does have a grudging acceptance amongst the superhero community. There's a great thing in the recent War of the Realms where basically Wolverine runs into Frank as they're fighting all the invading armies of, Muspelheim and Niflheim and all these places. And they basically, and Wolverine's like, "Oh, hey, Frank." He's like, "Oh, hey, Logan, how you been?" But it's just really just sort of, hey, killing trolls today? Yep, killing trolls.
It's because it's like, as much as we hate to admit it, we do need that guy from time to time. And occasionally if someone's willing to take that on and we don't have to be the ones to take on the responsibility of doing the dirty things, then all right, we'll let him be. Yeah, I know he's bad, but sometimes we need that.
Yeah, well, and of course, in the case of Wolverine and the Punisher, they're basically both that guy.
Right.
They're both, I kill lots of people too, it's not always cool with me either. So yeah, we got a connection.
Yeah.
But in this story, and actually, I do got to say that this is one of my favorite aspects of this episode, where, and this is like just so stupid, but it is just to me, this is like, yes! When they get Rachel's, what do you call it? Her folder? What do they call that?
I don't know.
Cops have a word for that where you got.
Her file, I guess.
Yeah, but it's not that. It has a specific name, and I can't remember it right now. But when they get her list of all of her things, she's got more alias than Carter's got pills. Because that is a phrase my mom always used. Although she always said, "You got more than Carter's got liver pills."
Interesting.
Yes, which I always mondegreen to Carter Scott Liverhill.
Oh man!
I had no idea, and then one day she explained to me who Carter is and what his pills were. It was basically a hangover remedy. It was like a patent medicine hangover remedy that was just called Carter's Little Liver Pills.
Interesting.
And just like vitamin C tablets or whatever. But but there were these little pills, and Carter was a big seller of them, and so Carter's pills. Was like
Good
an
Lord,
early
that's taking it
back in the 1900s or something. So,
oh my God,
yeah, at least in the Midwest, because this takes place in Ohio, and my mom's from Michigan, so obviously this is a term we use in that place. Although honestly, aside from my mom and this cop, I've never heard anyone else use this phrase, which makes me wonder if this is like the Sunday hole, that it really is a very unique, small section of people who know it. but it's not really family-like. It is a group thing. So, you know, it is this rabbit hole goes deep in linguistics. But to me, that's an important thing that we get that.
That's quite fascinating.
Yes, little Carter's little liver pills. So if you want to say someone has a lot of something, you say they got more of this, then Carter's got liver pills, or Carter's got pills. You know.
Wow.
If you don't want to highlight the hangover remedy aspect of Carter's empire, you know, because that's acknowledging the untowardness of it. But I'm from an untoward family, so we acknowledge, you know, what those pills was for, man. Anyway, getting back to this story, we get Pilgrim and an actual cop, clearly a corrupt cop, but an actual cop go in and hey, we're here for your prisoners.
Well, he didn't really have to be a cop. He could have just been anybody. You know, there was nothing. You know, as soon as he asked him to produce any paperwork or identification, he was like, all right, I guess we got to do this the hard way.
Well, you know, I guess that is a possibility. To me, he looked like a cop. He didn't.
Yeah, I mean, just give a guy a black trench coat and we're good to go, you know?
He was kind of a middle-aged guy.
And a shave.
Yeah, but he looked like a middle-aged guy. He looked like one of the guys that you might see in Super Troopers, you know.
Right.
That guy from Super Troopers.
In my mind, he was just one of the goons. He's like, hey, I tried my best, boss. He's like, all right.
Yeah. I mean, that's right. I mean, hey, he could be Special Forces from 2 wars ago. It's like, I'm still Special Forces. It actually strikes me that back in the last series, we had a couple of older fat guys in that group that Billy Russo has to get the dregs of the Special Forces to be his. Right.
And I
was like, okay, I guess I got you guys. Which I guess is maybe the deeper idea here is that there are Special Forces, but there's the Special Forces who are corrupt. It's like corrupt cops are not as good as decent cops. And here, you know, luckily Frank gets decent cops. Even though it's maybe implied that the sheriff is doing this because of electoral politics. Why is although it
he almost readily admits it too. He's like, he doesn't deny it. He's like, continue, you know.
Although that could be kind of the Columbo method, where Columbo never tells you you're right or wrong. He's like, okay, that's a theory, and it could be that he knows that there is a lot of corruption in the local state police, that going to the troopers is not necessarily safe because the troopers may be a little too tied to the higher ups, that when you get outside of the local constabulary, they maybe get a little too close to the powers that be in money and politics, you know. Yeah, there's a reason characters like the Punisher sort of reach beyond any one political party or any one ideology, because they do highlight this idea of, both the corruption in business and politics and in crime, and highlight the fact that there are those we know who we trust and those we don't know who we don't trust. And it gets politicized, but really there is this deeper idea of, we know there are forces working against us. We just don't know who they are, and who do we trust? But we usually know that the guy we actually know is someone we can trust. So that's the idea that we get in the character of the Punisher, which is why he got a Netflix series, 2 seasons.
And that's it.
That's it. Well, it's all going over to Disney Plus.
Yeah, they're going to reboot all the shows I hear, and they're going to make them sort of more involved with what happens in the MCU. So they're almost making it so that if you want to really be a true fan, you have to get the Disney service, because a lot of what's going to happen in the movie is going to be dependent on what happens in these shows.
Well, yeah, and to be fair, that is a solid argument to be made, and and I think although it's been suggested that,
I don't know how I feel about it though.
Well, here's the thing. A lot of the Netflix, because I do not think we have seen the last of John Berenger as the Punisher.
Really?
No, I really don't. I think Barenthal. I want to call him Berenger, but it's Barenthal. I do think all the Netflix characters, with maybe a certain green clad character, uh,
Oh,
not
please,
not
please.
you know what, he might get recast. I don't know, but I think everyone else is so iconic at this moment, and it doesn't cost Disney anything after 2 years to just it's all here. That basically by the time they're going to make the next reference to these characters, I don't think they have to
Mm,
recast them. And I think they can certainly say, yep, that's all canon. I don't think it hurts them to do so, and I think it is a gesture of goodwill to the community that loves these characters. It's sort of like how they kept on letting Adam West voice Batman in the cartoons, because it was a gesture to the community that you're gonna do Batman, you gotta let Adam West have something. Same reason though they always when they do a reboot of a series, they always let people do cameos because it's a
yeah.
gesture to the community, and the community really wants this stuff.
Yeah, but a cameo is different than canon.
Well,
I just feel like if you're going to replace one, it would be weird not to replace all of them. And Marvel is too meticulous and careful with what they do to be half-assed with something like that.
Yeah, unless your name is James Rhodes.
Who's that?
Rhodey, War Machine.
Yeah, fair enough.
Forgets about poor old what's his
Yeah,
name?
but I guess that's because they had like a personal issue, Robert Downey Jr. and Terrence Howard. So he's like, no.
But the fact of the matter is that
They did do it.
But had they not had that personal issue, I think Terrence Howard would have continued on. And I think that really, I don't think Marvel has a problem with John Barenthal. I don't think they have a problem with and I'm blanking on everyone's names who plays Luke Cage and Jessica Jones. I don't even think they have a problem with the guy who plays Iron Fist. I think it's mostly just, we're going to debate it. I think if anyone's worried right now, it's Iron Fist. I think that, honestly, if they bring everyone else over, they might, let Iron Fist come too. We're not going to do another Iron Fist series, but he can be in Heroes.
Yeah, I see that as being much more likely than replacing just one, and which is... I don't know, man. Like, we shouldn't complain. We get so much good stuff.
Yeah, and not for
why
nothing,
complain about?
In 2 years, Marvel gets this content, and they can stream that too. So they can stream the first.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. They get all these stuff back. So why?
Yeah, no, that's true.
When we already have canon, and it's like, and we built this canon with the idea because Marvel was involved in the building of this canon. It's only if they really want to say, oh, that character wasn't that character, which they actually already have some coverage on that. So if they want to reintroduce Nuke, as an example, the Simpson we met, he has a slightly different name than, because I think he's Will Simpson in one, and he has a different, his last name is still Simpson, but it's a different Simpson in Daredevil, in the original comics, than it is here.
Interesting.
So if they want to bring that character back, they can, and they can even tie it back out. It's like, oh yeah, that was my brother, that was my cousin, or they used to be my brother, now they're my uncle. That's a Peggy Carter reference. So so they can always bring it all back. But that's the future of Disney Plus and these characters. Let's get back to this episode, because we do get a lot of great stuff here. When after basically Pilgrim basically makes his not too veiled threat to the sheriff, and the sheriff is like, "Yep, okay, I clearly know you're the bad guys now." You're talking to me about oaths and my responsibilities and duties, and yet you're clearly don't have your paperwork in order. That's the thing. If you're talking about oaths, you better have your paperwork. It's like, if you're saying, "Oh, I took an oath of my office," well, then my oath of office says I got to have the paperwork. Just straight.
Really, that's literally part of the oath, probably.
Yeah, probably. There's probably not an actual reference to paperwork, but just the idea that you're going to obey the laws and Constitution, and that says, get your paperwork in order. There's no oath to the greater good, and to heck with everything else. Although maybe sometimes there should be. But then the special forces surround them. They cut the power.
And see, that's the interesting part. So they're completely in the dark. This is a bubble that has been blacked out on Google Maps. Nobody knows what's going on there. No GPS signals getting through. So when that helicopter comes upon him, it's like the light of awareness on him.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden, he's not a faceless shadow man doing something in this bubble where no one can see. He's himself. So he can't let himself, because I think that's why it does, in fact, cause him to stop.
It definitely causes him to stop. Although you open an interesting question about, is that maybe God's eye on him now?
Right. As a metaphor, yeah.
And suddenly, it's like, I get him stopping. To me, the joke of it is that you tell him to stop and he runs away.
Oh, he doesn't just... Interesting.
Yeah, it's like when they arrest Frank, they're not arresting Pilgrim. Pilgrim's like, okay, well, bye. And of course, in that whole concept, all Madani really wanted was Frank.
Right.
So she's not there to capture this Pilgrim guy.
She had no idea what was going on.
Absolutely no idea, because all she knows is that she's got a message that, the reverse lookup tells her, oh, that's the, Larkville PD, and that now their phones are all dead. That Frank's got himself into some kind of trouble now.
Right.
And so I do think that is the crux of that biscuit, is that, yeah, she's going in there kind of blind, but that within that idea, the fact that Pilgrim then just walks out really just says, you know what? Madani didn't really care about Pilgrim. Madani's not even that concerned about what's going on with these cops, whether or not these guys have killed anyone, whether or not any of these people who are dead in the woods now are her problem.
Right.
Really, and I think maybe that's kind of a thing to be thrown out here when our detective, who we first met back in Daredevil, and I'm forgetting his name too, throws Madani out of the thing that, it's like, yeah, you Homeland Security guys, you came in and you tromped all over our crime scene and then gave us the folder like you were doing us a favorite jacket. That's what it's called.
Right.
When your police file is called your jacket. So just popped in the head. That happens. But that you're doing us a favor. Right now this cop's in the same spot. It's like, yeah, here's a bunch of dead bodies. You guys handle that. We'll let you handle that investigation.
Yeah, good luck on the election, Sheriff.
Well, hey, he's the cop who just saved his precinct from a bunch of crazed bikers.
Mm-hmm.
Crazed bikers. People hate crazed bikers.
And one of his deputies got shot, so it was a big deal. He saved his life.
He saved his life. He saved his deputy. His deputy was a hero, although his brothers are drunk. Clearly, I thought that was a nice little touch to it. His brother is the deputy, and he's the one who locked up the other guy in the jail cell who's, urinating on himself. So I thought that was a nice quality of the story too. Yeah. So in general, I think that's a pretty good place to cut this episode. There's a lot going on here. It is a dramatic event. Any final thoughts on tonight's episode, Matt?
No, I think we got to it. Got to it all. I thought it was a really fun episode.
It was a fun episode. It was everything you want from the Punisher. We got a great fight in the. We've actually had some pretty good fights in the last couple episodes. We get the bar fight, we get the hotel fight, and in this one we get this battle in the woods. We're still getting a lot of good story too, and that's what I love about this. It kind of shocked me when I realized, wait, we're only on the third episode. It's like I feel like it should be further in, but yeah, it's only the third episode. We're doing a great job. So good for the Punisher. I think Netflix has invested the money, and I certainly hope they got their return back. They certainly got my $7 a month, and I plan on keeping Netflix even after Marvel leaves because
there's too much good stuff on.
Good stuff. I think although I'm going to be honest with you, I think it's going to be Disney Plus, Hulu, and Netflix, and I think that's going to be the end of my streaming services. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's getting a little crazy at this
Yeah,
point.
it's, I already got a small amount I paid to DirecTV for my cable over the internet with DirecTV now, and like
Mm.
right now I'm like almost at the point where it's like, hey, we're almost getting as much as I could just get cable for this. So
Right.
yeah, but I like where I'm at, and I think we'll get better competitive content. We'll see where it leads. Oh, okay, Mozz, if people would like to reach out to you, talk the Punisher, talk anything else, how can they find you?
Oh, they can email me at mozzmanzor@gmail.com or find me on Facebook under Mozz Manzor. That's MOZZMANZOOR.
And of course, you can always write to me in that old fashioned email way that where Maz and Paz once did at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, at gmail.com. And of course, follow me on the Twitters at Charlie Esser. That's CharlieEsser. Look for the two E's in the middle. For
Ding!
quality. Thank you, Maz. Thank you, all you listeners. You are now absolved of your sin. Go in peace and sin no more, though you will. And when you do, return here for your just punishment.